President Cyril Ramaphosa will lead a large South African delegation in New York this week, where the developing world is expected to lay out its expectations on the global stage. The president will deliver the South African statement to the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow. And of course, following this closely is SABC's international news editor, Sophie Mokoena, joining us in studio. Welcome, Sophie. So we know that the transformation agenda goes all the way to the UN. South Africa has been very outspoken about that. Tell us how that will be pushed this week, and what else is the president trying to achieve?
Well, you saw that the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, had a meeting with President Ramaphosa yesterday, and particularly to focus on this issue of the transformation of the multilateral institutions, including the financial system, your IMF and your World Bank. There has been a loud noise coming from the developing countries that these institutions are outdated. You know that they were formed after the Second World War. When you look at how the globe was then and now, you'll see that the Permanent Five in particular are the ones who are deciding in terms of what needs to be done and decisions taken in these institutions, but also benefiting. For example, as you know, you are an economist, that IMF and World Bank, when these developing countries and poorer countries are taking loans, the interest is very high, but the developed countries who already have resources, the interest rate is very low. And therefore, they are saying that they are outdated, but also the United Nations Security Council, you have these P5, the 5 members who have veto powers. It was working after Second World War because they played a prominent role in either starting or stopping that war, but other countries were not so involved at that time. But now things have changed. We have a situation, when you look at the agenda of the Security Council as we speak now, when you look at the countries that are before the Security Council, some of those countries are from Africa, but Africa doesn't even have a seat except the rotating seat. And therefore, you decide the fate and the future of other countries in relation to peace and security and development when they are not having a strong voice. And that is why this call has really gained traction. And I think the president and the SG were trying to really find a way to ensure that when they take to the podium tomorrow, the message is clear and very loud. On the other side, you have the president who's also engaged with other engagement on the margins of the UN. He is going to address the Chamber of Commerce later today. In 30 minutes, he will be participating in a discussions around maternal health and also the child health care. And I think, and you also have the former South African President, Thabo Mbeki, who is expected to arrive in New York today, who will be delivering a statement or a report on the illicit financial flow. You know that the AU appointed him to lead that high-level panel on illicit financial flow, and he will be delivering that report on Wednesday. The president will also be there as part of other leaders who will be engaging in terms of how you can deal with issues that are related to illicit financial flows, and also issues related to transformation of these financial institutions.
All right, so a lot happening involving our current and former president, mostly on the public stage. Sophie, any meetings behind closed doors that could be important, or will we wait and see?
We are waiting to get a final communication in terms of the president, the bilateral talks he is going to have on the margins of this summit. Of interest will be to see the countries. For example, the United States of America, there was no bilateral at the G20, and whether this time around he will be able to have a minute with the president of the United States of America. As you know, that there are issues that needs to be ironed out. We know that that report of the Lady R, it's out, and South Africa is complaining, or South Africa is aggrieved that that statement by the ambassador caused huge damage. But I saw the president yesterday meeting a congressman at the in the US, on the margins of the UN. And I suspect that was high on the agenda, as I pointed out on many occasions, that our ambassador, the US ambassador to South Africa, is a strong member of or he gets support from the Black Caucus in the Congress, and therefore you can't just fire him because you'll be sending a wrong signal, particularly to the Black Caucus in the Congress in the United States of America. And this is the group that stood with South Africa during very, very difficult times. So you have to find a way how you deal with this. And I think also other leaders, I'm told that some of the BRICS leaders who will be there, we know China and Russia will not be there, will meet on the margins of the UN. And of course, that important summit, the climate summit, that is going to be on the margins of the summit that has been organized by the UN Secretary General.